before anyone gets too worried, it's not that bad. Still got quite a bit of mobility with the left arm. Thought a lot about buying a cast and sitting here in it for the thumbnail, but I think that might be a little bit over the top. I don't want to dramatize anything, but I figured it probably was worth giving a little bit of an update. I am mildly injured right now. I don't expect it to slow down any of my progress, honestly. I'm very, very thankful that I'm at least through the hanging the sheetrock, at least in the bedroom. Obviously, I've still got a little bit to hang in the laundry room. But all that holding the sheet up over my head and up on the wall and trying to screw it and stuff that I did, absolutely could not do that right now. So I'm glad that that's done for. As, you know, the stage that we're at, I'm to finishing the drywall, as in mudding, taping, painting, carpet. It's all stuff that I can do. So anyway, probably kind of skipping ahead. Story is, went camping this past weekend. We did do a two-nighter. I took Friday off. Gonna stay out there, or did stay out there. I don't know why I keep saying was going to. We did stay out there until Sunday. So we got out there Friday morning about 10, I think. Got to a campsite, and the primary focus of this camp was to ride our new mini bikes. Almost the whole group has them now, all the guys that I camp with. So the mini bike squad all went out there Friday morning. We were gonna ride all day Friday and most of the day Saturday. So we got out there Friday, got unloaded, hadn't even really started doing anything yet, got a little fire built because the mosquitoes and gnats were surprisingly bad out there. And we decided we were gonna go on our first ride. Been there maybe an hour. I kind of doubt we'd even been there an hour yet. We all got the bike started, and we were gonna go to the lake that's not too far away. We were riding out, obviously, all excited to be out in the woods. Guess I should have given myself a few more moments to warm up. Probably 30 seconds after starting my bike, I took the lead because I was the only one that knew where we were going, and there is a trail that leads into the campsite off the road. And that trail has gotten pretty rough. It hasn't been maintained in a while. It's a steep, if you're going off the road into the campsite, it's uphill, pretty steep, and pretty washed out. So it's just big rocks, like boulders, and then or big loose rocks that are all, you know, softball size to bowling ball size, laying around on the trail. And then there's some actual boulders protruding out of the ground in a few spots. So at one of those spots there was a boulder sticking out of the ground that was creating somewhat of a ledge about that tall. And I did what I've done probably 10 or 20,000 times in my life, and I jumped off that on the bike. So I was going downhill. So it's like downhill, then the ledge, and then the landing area is a bunch of softball and bowling ball sized boulders, which typically is completely fine on every dirt bike that I've ever ridden. You got no problem doing that kind of stuff. The mini bike, I'm learning, is not as capable. So I hit that ledge 20 miles an hour, I would guess. When I went off it, I don't know if I pulled. Honestly, it was so quick, I can't give you a complete perfect breakdown of what happened. When I went off it, I either went sideways in the air, like this, like rotated like this in the air, or I stayed straight and I just hit the side of the washed out spot. And when I hit the ground, my bike just went just straight onto its side, with me also going straight onto my side in the pile of bowling ball sized rocks. So when, obviously I'm like this in my riding position, so when I fall, it happens so fast I've got no time to react, so I just hit the ground in this shape. It hits, my forearm is what hits the ground, and I can't hardly demonstrate the motion that my arm went into, but I fell onto my side, so my forearm hit, and it pushed my forearm up very, I wouldn't say outside of its normal range of motion. Can't do it with that arm, but I kind of just did this, but it happened so rapidly. I guess my muscles and all the connective tissue was not ready to handle all of my weight falling on it at 20 miles an hour and moving it that quickly. So I felt immediately when I hit the ground, I felt that only inside my shoulder, and it felt bad. It felt like something really bad just happened. So as soon as I stood up, the first thing I did was move my arm around like this a few times, and I was like, well, if I can still move my arm, you know, everything's moving normal, obviously it's not too bad. But it hurt. It was above average pain for just slamming into the ground. Obviously that hurts really bad. But it was like a few steps up from that, from just like what it would usually feel like when you fall on the ground. Like I was having a hard time just like recovering and going back to my normal self initially. I don't know, after a few minutes passed, I was able to, you know, regain my personality. But it was obviously this hurt, but it was just, I could tell it was just scrapes and bruises. So this is just road rash. That's where it didn't feel like I slid, but I guess I slid at least a little bit, or at least my arm slid. I guess my arm probably slid because I don't have any scrapes anywhere else in my body. So I guess it was just when that arm hit the ground, that's just the rash of this scraping across the ground as it came up. And this was almost, today's Thursday the next week, so this was almost a week ago. So I've regained a lot of the mobility in my shoulder. But anyway, stood the bike up, turned it off. We sat there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. I told everyone I kind of needed to just sit there enough to let that initial pain subside. So I was just kind of just kept moving my shoulder over and over again, because I was trying to see if maybe I could work the pain away, but it was just very aggressive pain all the way down my arm, but primarily obviously in my shoulder. It started to subside a little bit. I got the bike started back up. We kept riding. The whole time I was riding though, it felt like my shoulder needed to pop. You know, like I kept doing this, trying to pop it, and it wouldn't do it, and it was stiffening up. Every time I'd sit there if I'd ride for like 2 minutes without moving it, it would get all stiff, and then I'd try to move it, and it was a lot worse. And we ended up going to the lake still. We rode all the way out there. I was just taking it way easier. Wasn't going nearly as fast on anything. And we turned around and came back. Fortunately, I was wearing long sleeves, so I got no dirt in my cuts. But I still, had a first aid kit in the truck, so I got some alcohol prep wipes, and I was able to rub all this out anyway, even though there was no dirt in it, just to, you know, double check. And fortunately, I actually had some pretty big gauze pads and some tape, so I was able to put a couple pads on it and tape over it and just left it like that for the weekend. And there was an ice pack, which that's the first time I've ever really iced an injury. I've just never, I don't know. I don't know the science behind cold therapy, but I didn't have any ibuprofen or any type of painkiller. My shoulder just was a very consistent pain. So I held that ice pack on my shoulder for a little while, and that actually helped quite a bit. Went on through the rest of the day, kind of just kept trying to move it as much as I could, just keeping blood, you know, circulating through the area. Pain pretty much got to a point where eventually, I mean, after an hour or so, it got to where like it wasn't, I would experience no pain as long as my arms were in like a lowered position. It was pretty much just any time I tried to raise my arm up higher than this. So like I said, that was Friday morning, so I went the rest of the day Friday. Friday night, I had a really hard time sleeping because every time I tried to move, I couldn't lay on my left side because obviously that hurt. I couldn't hardly move myself around because I can't really push on things. Even now, I'm having a hard time pushing. So trying to pick myself up, if I couldn't do it with one arm, it was, you know, difficult to change positions. Of course, I only had a sleeping bag, so trying to like get my arms inside the sleeping bag, it was not that comfortable both nights. But fortunately, I woke up the next morning, and it wasn't any worse. We were all saying, you know, before I went to bed, I was probably going to wake up really stiff and hurting, but it wasn't bad the next morning. I went through the rest of the second day. We rode a lot during the night, too. We went on a night ride, pretty long night ride, and I was just taking it pretty easy, not riding too fast. Riding didn't hurt, fortunately. So I was still able to enjoy the trip. And then Saturday night, I noticed while like I woke up in the middle of the night and I had a lot less pain. I was noticing I was able to pick myself up and push myself around and even lay on my left side, and it wasn't hurting. So then I woke up, and I would say it was probably about 30% better Sunday morning. I had quite a bit more mobility in it. But I still struggled a lot to take a shirt on or off, or put a jacket on or take it off, because I can't hardly, even now, it keeps getting better every day, but I struggle with that behind the back motion. But I did have it looked at, and they pretty much told me it's not that concerning, since I do technically still have a full range of motion. I just have pain in some parts of it, because if I push through, or if I move slow and don't, like, you know, if I push through a little bit of discomfort, I do still have a full range of motion. They're pretty much saying if it was a significant muscle tear, I would not have the ability, obviously, because the muscles would not be functional, to move my arm into every position. But since I can do it with just some discomfort, that shows that everything's still functional. It's just a strain or partial mild tear, you know, is what it's kind of looking likely to, or looking like it is likely. Since it is getting better already, that's another good sign. They said if it's something serious, it's pretty much not going to improve for about a week. And now tomorrow will be a week, and it's at least 50% better than when it happened, I would say. So, no official diagnosis, but it looks like there's a very realistic possibility that it's a partially, mildly torn rotator cuff, which absolutely can heal on its own with some physical therapy. So I am taking it very easy. I haven't been doing anything where I have to lift my arm up hardly at all, and I'm trying to just kind of do the physical therapy movements. This one, which I don't have, it's ideally you want to be able to go all the way up, that full rotation. I can't. I can do about that much before I start reaching the discomfort range, which, you know, physical therapy, typically you want to work right to the edge of discomfort and then work that range and try to extend that range of motion. The next one is this, which ideally, sitting a little too close to the edge, ideally you would want to, you know, do the typical full shoulder range of motion. But it's only been 5 or 6 days, so can't expect too much. Still very fresh. So I don't expect this to be a long ongoing injury or anything. It's already healing quite a bit faster than some of the injuries I've had in the past, muscle injuries that I've had in the past. A couple of years ago, I guess it was either 2020 or 2021, I pulled a muscle in the middle of my back working out, and that took like 6 months to recover from. And in a week, I was nowhere near as much progress as I've made on this. So, like I said, I don't expect this to really slow me down much or be a big issue, but I just figured I'd make an update video just so everyone's kind of in the know about what's going on. You'll probably notice in my upcoming videos the bandage and me not being able to reach over my head with this arm. I can only reach about this high. So that doesn't seem that bad if you're trying to work on stuff. Like when we've been carrying glass this week at work, it's difficult only having basically one functional arm, because I don't like hanging weight from this arm, because if I have to flex that part of my shoulder, it hurts. But also when you're holding a piece of glass, you got to be holding the weight with one arm and holding the balance of it with the other arm, and you can't get much balance whenever your other hand only goes this high up. So that's been hindering me. And there's also just a lot of stuff we do where you're reaching up over your head to work on stuff. So it's been an annoyance for sure, but I'm at least to the point where it's not waking me up at night like it was the first 3 or 4 nights. And like I said, fortunately, I'm through a lot of the heavy lifting. I won't have any heavy lifting in the remodel stuff on the house for a little while. So that's another good thing, because I can mud and tape and paint, and I think I'm just going to do carpet in that bedroom, so put carpet down, all that stuff should be just fine with 1.5 arms. As far as the Minibike goes, all that kind of stuff, I have no plans of decreasing the amount of time that I spend on motorcycles and dirt bikes. I don't ride anything on the street anymore, but it's funny because that was kind of the whole point of getting the mini bikes, is that we thought they would be safer than full-size dirt bikes. And so far I've crashed my mini bike a lot more than I've crashed my dirt bike. In just a couple of months of having that mini bike, I've had more crashes on it than I've had in the last 7 years on dirt bikes. And it is probably mostly because it's small and slow, so it feels less dangerous. Which technically it is, as far as having, I guess technically it is, I don't know, I don't know what to think anymore now that I've had the crash where I landed on my butt and bruised my butt so bad, and then now this. I feel pretty sure it's the tires. Everyone talks about how bad the tires are on those, and I just thought I was going to test it and see for myself. I've had 3 crashes now where I lost traction, where the cause of the crash was losing traction. So I'm going to replace the tires before the next trip. Hopefully that helps. And then also just quit treating it like I can't crash. I think I just got a little bit too confident with going so long without having a dirt bike crash. Kind of started thinking I can't crash, and now I've discovered that I can. But I really don't want to live a life of not doing the things that I want to do because I'm worried about getting hurt. I mean, the name of my channel is Marching Moto, as in motorcycles, motocross, that type of stuff. So the way I've always seen it is just that kind of stuff just happens if you're going to live an interesting life. But I do not enjoy being injured. So I will step it back and treat that as more of just a cruising recreational type activity rather than an X Games stunt riding. I think the jumps and drops might not be what the mini bike is best suited for. I think I might ought to save that stuff for the full-size dirt bike, which is a shame because it's hard to resist when you have the opportunity. And we do all always wear helmets. I want to mention that. Springdale, a few months ago, lost a firefighter while he was off duty at his family's lake house in an ATV crash where he was not wearing a helmet, like 30 seconds outside of his driveway. He just pulled out, he wasn't on a trail, pulled out onto the road. I don't think anyone really knows what happened because no one saw it, but it was just kind of similar to like what happened with me. They just got out there and he went to go kind of take a look around the property and left, never came back, and someone found him dead in the road right there. And it was head and neck trauma, which is all stuff that you think probably could have been prevented with a helmet. So that was another wake-up call to me. I've never really done anything without a helmet, but it was an extra reminder to definitely not take it for granted and think that you can get away with just like a little quick ride around the yard without your helmet on. I will not anymore, after that, ever get on any type of dirt bike, motorcycle, or four-wheeler without a helmet on. Because that's like major life-changing stuff, head injuries. This stuff, I will get over this in a couple of weeks or a month or two. Traumatic brain injury, that's not something anyone needs to take a risk on. So anyway, I sat out here and talked longer than I expected to. I figured this would just be like a 10-minute thing, but I can see I've been recording for 30 minutes now. I am going to get to taping and mudding the bedroom, so there'll be videos coming on that. But just to get an update out, this is also part of the reason why I haven't gotten a video out. I've been going a little bit slower on everything because of this, and I didn't want to start recording that video and then everyone just see this and see me barely raising my arm and be confused. So this is coming out first. I'm going to get this edited hopefully tonight. Maybe I can get it edited and posted tonight, hopefully. If not, I'll definitely do it when I get home from work tomorrow and get it posted. But this should be a quick one to edit. It should probably be out tonight. Anyway, don't worry about me. Don't feel bad for me. Try not to lecture me too much about being unsafe. I'm the guy in the group that gets made fun of for being too safe already, so I understand. Trust me, stuff just happens. I think if I went through my entire life and never had any injuries, I would definitely feel like I probably lived a pretty lame life. So I'm not upset it happened. It's a learning experience, makes you feel alive. Thank you guys for your support. I'll keep you updated. As always, thank you so much for watching. Oh, and I just want to throw in, I was not drinking when this happened, so don't blame it on alcohol. I wouldn't take a risk like that.